following training is sponsored by the Niagara Library System. We serve our member libraries in Niagara, Orleans, and Genesee counties. Please visit your local library homepage and use your library card to get access to streaming videos, downloadable music, audiobooks, ebooks, and even more from the comfort of your own home. Thank you. Hello. It is amazing what you can find in your travels online. And today's video is going to be a little bit simpler. I'm just going to kind of read off the screen. I found this How Video Games Satisfy Basic Human Needs. It was written in 2017 and the original publication was in Nautilus. You can see that here on the screen, and Simon Parkin is the author of it. Because it's so cool, I took the article in its entirety, so it is here, but I will not go over the entire article. Please feel free to click on the link. It'll be in the description. Give the original author some love, and we'll go ahead and get started. One of the things that I want to say about this article is I really wish that I could say these things as well as these authors. So I'm really glad that they're out here and they're writing and they're doing their stuff. How video games satisfy basic human needs. I'm going to start right here where the article started with Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto, that most lavish and notorious of all modern video games, offers countless ways for players to behave. Much of this conduct, if acted out in our reality, would be considered somewhere between impolite to morally reprehensible. You can do almost anything you like, and for a tabloid journalist in search of a hysteric headline, the game offers a trove of misdemeanors certain to outrage any non-player. I have to tell you on this note, I was very concerned because one of my kids wanted to play Grand Theft Auto. They were younger and this was all I really knew about it. And I was like, no. But he was able to play. My husband played, and he had some other of his friends online who played. So my kid was able to get into a good community where people were not doing these off the books, off the mission things that you can do in Grand Theft Auto. Except, of course, aside from its preset storyline, Grand Theft Auto doesn't prescribe any of these things. It merely offers us a playpen, one that, like our own cities, is filled with opportunities and arbitrated by rules and consequences. As the philosophers say, wherever you go, there you will be. For these researchers in these video games, incredibly, enjoyment is not the primary reason why we play video games. Richard Bartle talks about in his 1996 article, Hearts, Clubs, Diamonds, Spades, players who suit MUDs. That is a multi-user dimension that was a precursor to the role-playing games that we have. He identified 4 primary types of video game players. The killers, the achievers, the explorers, and the socializers. And he says, because I wanted to say to game designers, people have different reasons for playing your games. They don't all play for the same reason you do. So it's something good to keep in mind. Bartle's research showed that, in general, people were consistent in these preferred ways of being in online video game worlds. Regardless of the game, he found that socializers, for example, spend the majority of their time forming relationships with other players. Achievers, meanwhile, focus fully on the accumulation of these status tokens. People have been remarkably consistent in the reason why they play different games and how they play different games. Our disposition can often be reflected in our choice of character, too. In online role-playing games, for example, players who assume the role of medics, keeping the rest of the team alive in battle, will, Bartle found, tend to play the same role across games. These kind of games are a search for identity, he said. While players sometimes experiment, for example, by playing an evil character just to see what it's like, Bartle found that such experiments usually lead to affirmation rather than transformation. Basically, he said, if you're a jerk in real life, you're going to be a jerk in any kind of social setting, and if you're not, you're not. This can be really, I found this very heartening information. And this is a Team 2 Fortress medic. He doesn't really look like a medic, but okay. In another study, the authors had found that video games that allowed players to play out their ideal selves, embodying roles that would allow them to be, for example, braver, fairer, more generous, or more glorious, were not only the most intrinsically rewarding, but also had the greatest influence on our emotions. Humans are drawn to video and computer games because such games provide players with access to ideal aspects of themselves. They allow us to bridge the gap between what we are and what we want to be. Interestingly, Bartle also mentions self-actualization of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Self-actualization is there at the very top of the pyramid, and that's what many games deliver. That's all people ever truly want, to be. Now, moving from the players to the designers of the games, the crucial role of the designer in deciding the rules of how we can behave in their game can be vividly seen in Undertale, a critically lauded role-playing game from 2015, which subverted its own genre by allowing players to befriend the game's monsters, not just stab at them with swords. So it introduced a level of cooperation that really hadn't been seen in games before, which is great. Talking about some other games in the article, for Fox, competitive games also allow for expressiveness. In high-level Super Smash Bros. A fighting game in which players assume the role of various Nintendo characters and attempt to knock the color from each other's pixels, you have some players that love to play proactively and aggressively, and there's some players that play super methodically, he said. And that's based on a lot of the personality of the player themselves. One's choice of character in a fighting game may reflect one's personality, but Fox often sees that players use characters in ways that reflect their individual play style rather than that which is encouraged by their chosen avatar's strengths. One of the best ways to beat Jigglypuff, and I didn't know this was Jigglypuff, this is Jigglypuff here. One of the best ways to beat Jigglypuff, a pink marshmallow-like character loaned from the Japanese monster collecting game Pokemon, is to play very defensively, he told me. But Mango, one of the best professional Super Smash Bros. Players, often refuses to play that way against Jigglypuff, even if it means losing. Why? Because if this player, Mango, if he's going to win, he wants to win being honest to himself. The way he plays is representative of who he is. So the authors of a 2014 paper examining the role of self-determination in virtual worlds concluded that video games offer us a trio of motivational draws: the chance to self-organize experiences and behavior and act in accordance with one's own sense of self, the ability to challenge and to experience one's own effectiveness, and the opportunity to experience community and be connected to other individuals and collectives. It is the new neighborhood. It's the new reality. Virtual reality is here. I thought this was very interesting and actually kind of a hopeful assessment of video games. We hear a lot of negative aspects, but there's really a lot of positive aspects to them too. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye now.